Cute. Okay. Do you know what a sugar baby is?
Yes. No.
I think I do.
Kind of, not really. I've heard the term before, but I don't know exactly what it is.
I do now, yes.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Could you explain to me what you think it is?
Someone that exchanges company and favours.
For money or sex or...
It's like a woman or a man who
Gets paid money to go on dates with someone else.
In exchange for partnership, for companionship.
Someone of a younger stature benefits by a relationship with someone older, whether that's monetary, gifts,
And maybe sex.
Would you ever consider being a sugar baby yourself?
Yeah, no.
I mean, maybe.
personally no.
yes.
I want shoes.
Are you offering?
Yeah, 100%.
Tonight we bring you the jet-setting new twist on the sugar baby dating game.
And there's this website, it's called seekingarrangement.com.
We want to take now a very provocative look at modern relationships.
Here in the studio is Olga, who's been a member of the site seekingarrangement.com.
It's no wonder that some students are turning to a very unconventional and controversial way to pay.
College girls drowning in student loans and resorting to sugar dating.
Okay, so whether you've already seen much of it or not, it's pretty clear that there is this huge saturation of information in the media telling us who sugar babies are and what they do. Most of this media portrays sugar babies as these young girls who are a desperate means seeking help from older men. Now, this may be the case sometimes, but I don't know if that is necessarily a fair portrayal of every sugar baby all around the world. So, what I want to do is I want to find out who are the sugar babies of New Zealand and what are their stories. It's pretty clear that Wellington has a huge population of sugar babies who were mostly all willing to meet with me.
I think I was probably a sugar baby for maybe like 3 or so months. I would basically text him with either what I wanted, whether it be groceries or Uber Eats or alcohol or anything like that. If it were bigger purchases like a handbag, then I would send it through and be like, I want this. And he would kind of then communicate any boundaries around like price or things like that. Like if I would go out for dinner with my friends, I could ask him to wait on the street corner until we were done and then he could go in and pay for dinner. So he was in like a very busy kind of occupation where I think he was in control quite a lot of the time. So the fact that he was out of control, I guess, was kind of a kink for him.
How long were you a sugar baby for while you were with?
I was a sugar baby for 3 years with 2 different men at separate times.
Did you enjoy your time when you were a sugar baby?
When I was a sugar baby, I definitely enjoyed being a sugar baby. No money stress, not having to pay rent, going to whatever restaurant I wanted to, whenever I wanted, I experienced it for myself and I loved it.
I've been a sugar baby for just under 1 year now. My sugar daddy has just turned 50. So I use Seeking Arrangements to find my sugar daddy. I met up with my first guy who was much more into just, paying sugar babies for sex. After that experience, I decided that it was definitely not what I wanted. So when I met up with my current sugar daddy, so I've only had 2, we definitely agreed to have a different arrangement where it was more about him spending money on me and not in return for sex. The sex was just a bonus.
The term sugar babying is not at all novel. In fact, it is said to date all the way back to the early 19th century. It began with the man Adolf Spreckels, who was the owner of the very successful Domino's Sugar Company. He ended up marrying a woman, Alma de Bretteville, who was 25 years his junior and grew up very poor. Alma benefited off the sugar company's wealth and would often playfully refer to him as her sugar daddy. Since then, the sugar babying industry has grown, with most people finding their sugar relationships through online platforms such as Seeking Arrangements.
So we would jump on these yachts. We'll just party where it's docked, or they'll take us out on like Wellington Harbour. We'll just have crazy nights, and they would have like poles up there. We'll all end up naked. We just felt free. We were always like 10 grand a night, you know? It was just easy. I would get girls or hire escorts to fuck him, pretty much. It started working. I didn't do anything with him from then on for like a good 6 months. He wanted to be dominated. He wanted to be tied up, wanted me to, stomp on his balls. It got really easier for me because I realised that I could just tie him up and just walk out and just leave him there all day and spend his money.
So me and my sugar daddy are both very into fine dining. So we tend to just go out once a week. I've got a very long list right now of the most expensive restaurants in Wellington, and we tend to just dress up a bit and buy an expensive bottle of wine, get some oysters. Yeah.
In order to get a better understanding of what it's really like to be a sugar baby, I feel like I'm going to have to test this out for myself. I set up a Seeking Arrangements account, I chose an undercover name, and uploaded some photos. I began asking sugar daddies what kind of things they were looking for in here, to get an idea of what they would generally expect from a sugar baby. I was actually surprised to find that almost every single man I talked to did require some sort of sex in return for payment. I also noticed that a lot of men said things like, "Don't waste my time," and "Don't ask me what I do for a living," which indicated that maybe in the past some of these men have felt used for their money and they were trying to reclaim some sort of power. I did find a few who said they would be happy to just go for a casual drink, so I chose one who seemed nice enough and we decided on a time and a place. There is a really interesting power dynamic between the sugar baby, the worker, and the sugar parent, the client, which in turn addresses a much bigger argument about feminism and equality. Sex work and sugar babying are two separate things, but in the instance of analysing which party holds power over the other, there are definite similarities. For many years, sex work has been widely discussed within feminism, with some people believing that it is positive to feminism and some people believing that it is paradoxal to the whole essence of what feminists are trying to preach.
Do you consider yourself a feminist?
Yes, 100%.
I would consider myself fully in support of feminist ideals.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes, I definitely consider myself a feminist.
Now that you've learnt what a sugar baby is, would you consider that something that is positive to the feminist movement or something more negative?
I mean, I don't think that your goal in life should be to be a sugar baby, but
I think if both people are happy and it's not affecting anyone else.
And everyone's safe while doing things, then yeah, it's all good.
And again, with that kind of situation too, it's a workplace like any other, so you want the same safety practices and also like legal security kind of within any job.
I think it really depends on the respect and power roles within that situation.
You could view it as being a woman, if it is a woman, taking complete power and being in control of what she chooses to do.
I'd say it's neutral because women can make their own choices.
As long as it's your choice, I don't think it should be something that you feel like you have to do because you're financially pushed into it.
But if it's run by empowered females and that is what they want to be doing, which often can be the case, then awesome, it definitely aligns with feminism.
To get even a slight idea of what it feels like to be a sugar baby, I did go on a date. Before the date, I was really nervous. I was worried about feeling objectified. I wondered if this is how all sugar babies feel when they're about to go and meet their sugar daddy, not knowing whether they're going to feel in control of what's going to happen or not. But once I was actually there in front of him, it was a lot easier to gauge the situation. He invited me to the specific bar, which I had never been to before. I guess it wasn't necessarily a well-known venue. I think he was about 35 years old. He bought me a couple of drinks and we had really good conversation about things that we actually had in common. I learned that he already had another sugar baby, but he was looking to add someone to their relationship. He said that he made his money in the film industry, which was actually a really good segue into telling him about what I was actually doing and that now he was kind of a part of. I was a little worried that he would be offended I didn't say anything sooner, but he did seem to like the idea and he was happy to help. He still invited me to come back and meet his other sugar baby, but that would involve sex, so I politely declined. He didn't push it any further once I'd said no, but it was clear that if I was planning on carrying on the arrangement, the no sex policy would have definitely been a deal breaker. It seems that an arrangement that doesn't involve sex is really rare, which makes me think that maybe the sugar daddy does hold more power in the situation than I thought. Overall, I think I was lucky to have such a good experience on the first date, but I understand that that's definitely not always the case. Sometimes they can be unpleasant or even unsafe. So I made sure that my friends knew where I was the whole time and that they were available to pick me up, which I would definitely recommend to anyone going on any date off the internet. He even paid me for the date, which seemed like usual protocol from what I saw on Seeking Arrangements, but I think from now on I will just leave it up to the real professionals.
I know he does have other sugar babies. All the other girls he's with have got the money for sex arrangements. So one time we had a threesome with one of his other sugar babies, and I did kind of notice, like, during it that he would kind of maybe be a bit more demanding, like, tell her what to do. And I'm just like, oh, it's because she's getting, like, paid for this. He was very into that. He was like, I want to have more threesomes. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I could see that they didn't have any kind of connection, and I just didn't like it.
He was very much into, like, domination, and he sent me a photo of a guy, like, laid down on his, like, side with a woman, like, standing on his head and was like, I want you to do this to me. And I was like, I'm not here for that. Because you're in a domination position, they're kind of treated like they're worthless, so they can't really tell you to do anything. I think in terms of feminism, my situation definitely gave me a sense of power. Having that control over a guy was really, like, interesting. I think I'm very much used to, I guess, in my relationships being in a very traditional sense where it's kind of like men are the breadwinners or all that sort of shit. So I think having that really flipped on its head where it's like I'm responsible for telling someone what to do and where they need to be was interesting. It was kind of empowering, but it was really strange.
As of yet, there are no established organisations for sugar babies in particular, but for the areas where sex work and sugar babying overlap, I spoke to a member of the New Zealand Prostitutes Collective. Their organisation has first-hand knowledge of the laws and protection that surround sex workers in New Zealand. What is the main purpose of the New Zealand Prostitutes Collective?
So we are funded to support the sexual and reproductive health of the sex worker community. So it's about supporting safer sex, to be treated fairly by their health professionals through the justice system, or if they're stopping work, or you know, in lots of other ways.
I guess New Zealand is seen as quite a progressive country in terms of sex work. In your opinion, like working in the industry, do you think that's true?
I do think that there's progression in New Zealand. I mean, our law still isn't perfect. We've got Section 19 of the Reform Act, which prohibits people on temporary visas from doing sex work. So that creates a lot of issues for exploitation. So while our decriminalised model is amazing, it's just got that little failing. We would hope to change in the future. Because of decriminalisation, there's a really good culture of consent that happens. There's a lot of negotiation of what you will provide and what you won't provide. And I think decriminalisation has worked to improve those interactions as well.
The girls that I met whilst being a sugar baby and then being a sugar baby themselves, we definitely did it for our enjoyment, you know. Not only could they pay off their student loans, they also saw the fun side of it. This is what I'm doing and I'm happy. So, yeah.
So do you think that sex work is something that is really important in our society?
I can't think of a city where there wouldn't be sex workers. We are part of the fabric. Sex workers are here. Sex workers have always been around. Sex work is important because it is people's income. I think we all get to choose the boundaries of our sexual consent, and if that means I'm going to give consent because you're giving me $200, then that's up to me because it's my friggin' body, you know? So they teach us that we can be anything I want to, and then they say, oh no, but I didn't mean that.
Being a sugar baby was a win-win for both sugar daddies and sugar babies because, you know, they're getting what they want and I'm getting what I want. What I'd like for people to see in this documentary is the different experiences that sugar babies have. There are their negative stories, but I would say there's definitely a lot more positive stories. I think it's good to get out the positive side of being a sugar baby.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Contrary to how lots of media has portrayed sugar babying, I think it's clear now that there are so many more reasons why these women choose this line of work. I think the issue that some people have is that going on dates for your job can simply mean pleasing older men. But even if that is the job description for most sugar babies, these women who I've talked to are very aware of what they're doing and genuinely seem to enjoy their work. From what I've observed, the regular, more experienced sugar babies are the ones who seem to have that power. She gets to decide what she does and doesn't do, and her sugar daddy seems to be there genuinely just to make her happy. In my situation, however, being an inexperienced sugar baby, even just for the day, I did feel that the men who I talked to held power over me. They told me that I would have to do this or look like that in order to be paid. I think it's fair to say that when looking at sugar babying from the outside, we need to remember that every situation is different and we really can't put a single classification on a whole range of relationships that involve such different people and therefore have all unique experiences.